Yo, welcome back, Destination Devy fam, to the station, Destination Devy. This is the All Gas Show, powered by FTN Fantasy. Man, y'all go over there and check it out. It's some dope shit over there on FTNFantasy.com. Sports is back in the swing of things. NBA, MLB. I know it's a little bit of issues here and there, but we still have sports. The NFL training camp is underway, so all of you guys, I know you're out there, sports gambling fans. That's me. I'm from Vegas, man, so I live at the sportsbook. Make sure you go over to ftnfantasy.com. Use promo code ALLGAS. Get you a little something off that total amount. But we are excited to talk to you today, and I am joined by my man, my partner in crime. You see him down... Where you at? Down there in that little box down there. That's my man Jordan Richards, the man behind all the dope graphics, the editing work. Man, this dude is truly a partner of mine in this Destination Devy thing, but it's still my show, damn it. So I am on the main screen. My man Jay is down there in the small box. What's up, Jay? Talk to the Destination Devy fam.
I'm good, man. I'm good. And I appreciate you having me on. Even though I'm in this small little box, the people can't really see how beautiful I am. I mean, we're two beautiful black people here. You can call me the little one, but we both know that I'm bigger than you are. I may not be a bigger star, but I am a bigger person. And we both know that reach trumps all in this world. So if we were to square up, I'd give myself a pretty good shot, even against your dad's strength and those quads that you've been showing off on Twitter. So I appreciate you having me on, though, and you know we're going to burn this show to the ground just like we always do when we get together.
Yeah, man, it's going to be a fun show. And, you know, I think it's time we give the people a mock draft. I'm actually in my first redraft league of the summer of the football season, currently in this redraft league. And I think it's important to start to transition into redraft mode because the strategies required to win, especially at startup time, you know, early in the first, second, third round, is much different than when you're building a dynasty roster. Ultimately, you want to get good players, right? But in dynasty, age does factor in. You have to take that into consideration. And I've talked about some of these aging veterans on previous shows, man. Make sure if you haven't checked out the other shows, man, subscribe to the channel. When you're chilling this weekend, later today, whatever, go back through. There's some good, valuable content on there, man. Make sure you subscribe and check that out. But on the previous show, I talked about those aging veterans that you might want to get out from underneath, Julio Jones being one of those players. In redraft, I want all the Julio I can get because he's still going to be an absolute monster this year. So today on this episode, Jay and I are going to do a mock draft, redraft, mock draft, half-point PPR. Is that what we're rolling with? Half-point PPR. And
yes,
we're
sir.
going to use the rankings on FTN Fantasy. Brad Evans, and are we using Jeff's as well?
Yes, sir. I got them both pulled up here. A little bit of dual screen action.
All right, Brad Evans and Jeff Ratcliffe. So we're going to use their rankings, and I'm going to essentially mock against them. Jay is going to kind of moderate, and he's going to take the place of Brad and Jeff. And when I'm on the clock, I'll let you guys know my strategy, why I went with what pick, and then we'll see how it lines up with their rankings over there, Jeff and Brad. How does that sound, Jay?
Sounds like a good plan. I mean, from what I'm looking at right now, we have a lot to talk about between those guys. So we're going to go through that for sure. I mean, nobody's safe. Everybody needs to get kept in check every once in a while, and I'll make sure to do that today, and we'll go through it for sure.
Yeah, and it's really, man, it's to see where they're at right now, see where what my process would be in this situation. So it ain't about, it's not about calling anybody out. It's just going to be fun, entertaining to see where they have guys ranked, opposed to where I'm drafting live on the clock, and I don't have those ranks pulled up. I don't have them on my screen. I'm not looking at them. The only person that's looking at it through this exercise is Jay. So, man, let's dive into it. What do you say, man?
You got barbecue back there, and you didn't invite me. Hurt my feelings.
Let's get it. I'm about it. Let's do it.
All right, let's go. So we are going to go 2020 season half-point PPR snake draft. Let's draft out of like the third position. That'd be kind of fun because we know who probably is going to be the 101. But if us drafting out of third position kind of gives us something to talk about, a little something to think about in what decisions that I would go or Jeff or Brad would go. Let's kick this shit off out of the third spot. Okay, as we expected, Christian McCaffrey off of the board. 1, Saquon Barkley off of the board. 2, this is half-point PPR, and I would be going. This is my pick. I think in half-point PPR, the running backs are even more valuable than wide receivers. So you want that. I think you've got to start with a running back. And right here, I know Dallas lost Travis Frederick. Tyron Smith is getting older, but Zach Martin, Lyle Collins. Connor Williams taking a step forward. Dak Prescott, those wide receivers. I think it's Ezekiel Elliott. That would be my pick here. Where do Brad and where would they go based off of their rankings in this point in time?
So the big dogs are a little bit split decision right here, although they both have Zeke at 4. But you see Brad over here, he's got Alvin Kamara listed as RB3 because, he's a smart guy. He knows Alvin Kamara was hurt a bit last year. He's going to come back with a vengeance in that contract year and blow up. Meanwhile, Jeff, he's got Michael Thomas listed at number 2 overall, which is a little bit surprising. Everyone knows how good Michael Thomas was last year, but obviously coming into this season, bringing in Emmanuel Sanders, hoping Jared Cook gets more involved. Obviously, Alvin Kamara being a bigger staple in that offense. Who knows what he's going to provide from an output standpoint? We know he could easily repeat probably as the number 1 wide receiver in football, but in half-point PPR, we can't count on someone breaking the receptions record to keep their fantasy points going up. So we definitely want to go running back here. And so I'd probably be rolling against Jeff a little bit and going either Kamara or Zeke, who would be the next running backs on both their boards.
All right, well, I'm going to go with Zeke. I'm going with fucking Zeke right here. I'm taking Kamara over Zeke. Let's see how Michael Thomas went off next, man. So we'll kind of run through the picks that flew off next. What do we have? Where are we at? All right, so Mike Thomas, Kamara. So there are 2 guys went right after that. So we're all kind of in the same boat, right? I don't think you can screw up the first couple of picks. Derrick Henry, Dalvin Cook, Mixon, Kenyon Drake at the 109, Devontae Adams, Julio, and L-Jax. Interesting computer strategy there. I wouldn't take a quarterback that early, even as talented as Lamar is, and I don't even know if he changed the damn settings at the beginning. I don't even know if you can put 6-point, 4-point, whatever, but I'm still not taking a quarterback in the first round, half-point PPR draft. Redraft league. Tyreek Hill, Godwin, Chubb, Josh Jacobs, Nuke Hopkins, Kelsey, Aaron Jones, Pat Mahomes, and Mike Evans. So here we are at the 210, and I think this is super easy. I'm going running back again, and I probably would smash Miles Sanders right here. It's not even. I don't even have to spend a lot of time on this. The best available wide receiver, if you were looking at it, Kenny Golladay, Allen Robinson, Juju. Quarterback, I'm not even thinking about a quarterback in the second round. It's a late round QB all day in this kind of format. So Miles Sanders would be my pick. Where would you? Where would Brad or Jeff go in this situation?
So right now, if we're going Brad actually has a lot of wide receivers ranked really high in his rankings. So he has Cooper Kupp and Allen Robinson at 15 and 16 overall in his ranks, which is
overall
really
or wide receiver?
High. No, overall. I'm looking at their overall rankings right now. He has Cooper Kupp.
Okay.
I don't know which wide receiver he is, but he's probably wide receiver 4 or 5, and Allen Robinson right behind him. So he has Miles Sanders buried all the way at 26 in between Leonard Fournette and Chris Carson.
Okay.
Yeah. So then you look at Jeff's rankings. He's a little bit more in lockstep with us. He basically went chalk. I don't think there's anybody that he has ranked above. He has Leonard Fournette actually higher than Brad does. And so he's still available, I believe, right? Yeah, he's still available. And then so we could take him if we wanted to go that way, as well as Kenny Golladay ranked ahead of Miles Sanders, who is his 18th overall player. So not too bad. I agree with Jeff a little bit there.
So you would go Kenny Golladay over Miles Sanders in this situation?
For me, in the format, I'm going Sanders because I like running backs, but I could wanting to get Kenny G. He's going to be a top-ranked wide receiver this year for sure.
Yeah, I just think the upside with Miles Sanders, I think he's a lock 4,000 rushing yards, and then you can pencil him in at minimum for, 350 receiving, 400 receiving yards this season. Yeah. So for me, Who did we go round one? Zeke Elliott, Miles Sanders. I think that's a hell of a start in a half-point PPR redraft league, and Miles Sanders is poised for a big season this year. So interesting to hear where they have those guys, and we've got a pick coming right up. So Kenny Golladay might fall to us in the third round. Let's see what happens here. So we're going to take Miles Sanders. Golladay didn't. He won a couple of picks afterwards. It was George Kittle, Kenny Golladay, Austin Eckler, and Amari Cooper. So right now, man, Clyde Edwards-Helaire looks good right there. No quarterbacks. We don't have to worry about that. So Allen Robinson, Juju Smith-Schuster, part of the conversation. I think the best available tight end is Mark Andrews, and I'm not taking the tight end this early. So I think for me it's between Allen Robinson. Leonard Fournette's still on the board too. And this is redraft. So half
That's
PPR.
What you think about it. That it's tough. It's really tough. Both of them have Leonard Fournette ranked fairly high. Brad's a little bit lower on Fournette than Jeff is, but when you think about getting another running back there, like Jeff has him ranked as his 15th overall player, even ahead of Golladay still. So if you're going to go more Jeff's route where it's a little bit heavier RB, then that would definitely be a great selection. You're basically getting 3 of his top 15 players in your first 3 rounds. Where you look at Brad's side, you still get Leonard Fournette, who he has a little bit lower at 25 overall, but technically still a value compared to the board in his opinion. So you're kind of getting value from both sides. And I personally think going running back there is a smash pick, and then you just fill in the gaps at wide receiver later.
I think Fournette is locked into another heavy workload. It's his last season in Jacksonville, so he's got all the incentive and reason in the world to smash this year. Granted, I doubt we'll see him. What do you have, 100 targets last year? Yeah, 76 receptions. I mean, that's crazy. And he only had, 3 touchdowns? Like, he's due positive touchdown regression. He's definitely going to regress in a receptions category, but even still, if he's a 45 catch guy next season, you add on 3 or 4 more touchdowns on the ground, another 1,100 rushing yards. I think Fournette's the pick over the talented Clyde Edwards-Helaire that if we were in a dynasty startup here, I would definitely consider Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But redraft this season, give me the workhorse in that backfield. And who's he got competing for touches? Raquel Armstead and Chris Thompson? Give me a fucking break. I think it's Leonard Fournette, man.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And people need to remember that for a guy who didn't really have a whole lot of pass catching experience out of college, he's still catching the ball at, I believe, a 75% clip, or at least above 70% all 3 years in the NFL so far.
Yeah, I think that was a good pick. I think Fournette over Edwards-Helaire. You got to get out of that dynasty mindset, right? Because if it was dynasty, I'd absolutely take Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I'd consider the quarterback early, but right here, we are trying to win in 2020, and all 3 of the running backs that we have should see significant volume this upcoming NFL season. We saw quite a few wide receivers off the board. Keenan Allen, Calvin Ridley, Woods, Sutton, OBJ, A.J. Brown, some running backs, Lev Bell, Edwards-Helaire, Cooper Kupp, Chris Carson. So, yeah, quite a few good people came off of the board. So here we are in round 10. Let's take a look at the best available players. All the quarterbacks are still there. Dak, Russell. We're not even thinking in redraft. When are you even thinking quarterback? Like 9th, 10th round? Yeah, 10th
Easy.
round.
Unless you find
round.
a good value.
Yeah, and even in Superflex redraft leagues, I'm not for, if I miss out on Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes, I'm all for waiting. I'd be fine with Ryan Tannehill and Teddy Bridgewater as my quarterbacks, and honestly, I'd be fine with Minshew or, I know this sounds disgusting, but redraft somebody like Mitchell Trubisky. You know what I mean? Like, I just need you to play and not lose me weeks, so maybe not Mitch Trubisky. All right, running backs, best available guys. Got James Conner, David Johnson, John Taylor, Mark Ingram, Montgomery Singletary, interested there. Kareem Hunt, DeAndre Swift, Guys Ronald Jones. I think we can wait at running back. We've got 3. Man, some good wide receivers. There's some good receivers.
Yeah, this is the pick
the
we got to nail, right? Getting that. This
Okay.
would be our wide receiver 1.
All right. Lockett, Chark, McLaurin, Metcalf, Parker, Hilton, Diggs. I would be, as my wide receiver 1 in redraft, It would probably be Terry McLaurin right here, to be honest with you. I think with Kelvin Harmon going down, with no tight end of consequence, Dwayne Haskins and him having that rapport from last season and Ohio State, the fact that the 2 Seattle receivers on the board, we really don't know which one is the number one. I believe it's DK Metcalf, but Tyler Lockett is still there. And then DJ Chark receiving passes from Gardner Minshew. I still want to see it with Minshew. They did draft Laviska Shenault. So for me, the pick would be Terry McLaurin. What would you do, Brad and Jeff?
So McLaurin is going at 48 overall for Brad's rankings, with Devontae Parker right ahead of him.
Okay.
Right? And then I'm assuming Robert Woods is still available. Both of them like Robert Woods quite a bit.
Woods went. Woods is off the board.
Woods went. Oh, he's getting respect.
Woods is off the board. Yeah.
Love to see it. So then you're looking at Chark, basically. He's 42 in Brad's, and then in Jeff's, he's 54. So they're kind of split that way. Lockett is 43 in Jeff's, and then let's see where he is. He must be buried on
Brad's.
He's buried on Brad's all the way at 71.
Damn.
Right? So he obviously has a lot more faith in Metcalf.
Yeah.
Or no, he actually has them eating into each other's workload. He has Lockett at 71 and Metcalf at 75.
Okay, so it sounds like
he obviously believes in other guys.
Brad has McLaurin ranked higher than all of these, right? Brad has Parker where?
At 47, McLaurin at 48, and Chark at 42.
So he's got Chark the highest, and then Jeff has Chark slightly ahead of McLaurin?
No, Chark's at 54. McLaurin is up high, actually, at 36, ahead of Odell.
Yeah. Oh. Well,
and then Lockett at 43.
We're going Terry McLaurin.
And Parker at 49.
We're going Terry McLaurin.
I
That's
think
what I would
McLaurin's
do.
the pick, too.
I think he's the pick. I think it definitely, with the loss of Harmon, I like Steven Sims a lot. And again, no tight end of consequence. He can push, 135 targets, easily this season?
No competition for that guy.
Let's get it, man. Let's get it. And then we'll have another pick right after that.
It comes back. Oh, that's it. That's easy for me. I think you got to go Chark.
Yeah. Chark over Metcalf?
Mm-hmm. You think all of the reasoning you just gave for McLaurin all applies to Chark. And we didn't say it because I was hoping he'd come back, but it all applies. There's no competition there. His quarterback is probably going to be Minshew, who he had success with last season. Yeah. And I think all the same things apply, right? And Chark, I love Metcalf. I think he has a high ceiling, but his floor is probably a lot lower than we imagine Chark's is.
All right, we'll go Chark. Redraft.
Who'd you go with?
It's a tough one, man. I'd go Chark. He's going into his 3rd season, I believe, right? DK's going into his 2nd season. I think it's pick your poison. Do you believe more in Russell Wilson to get DK the ball in the Seattle offense, or do you believe in just the fact that Chark, while not having as good a quarterback, he is the unquestioned number 1 for that team? I think that's the question that fantasy gamers have to ask themselves. If you're faced with this situation, are you going to go with the upside freak young player in DK with the Hall of Fame quarterback, but he's competing with targets with Tyler Lockett, or DJ Chark competing with targets against nobody, but he's got a lesser quarterback?
Also worth mentioning, right, just for the viewers at home, in case they didn't pick it up as I'm kind of picking it up on the fly, is that we would be doing the full Jacksonville stack with Fournette and Chark.
Yeah.
Which I don't hate, because you think about game script wise, they're going to be in some bad game scripts all day long. They don't have a good defense. So you think about from that standpoint for Chark, they should be pretty good, and Fournette as well, getting targets out of the backfield. Metcalf, we'll see. They'll have some good game scripts against good teams, but they may blow a few teams out to where he may not be used as much.
Yeah, you're right. We'll go Chark here. We'll go Chark. I'm liking how this team is coming together, man. To have those running backs paired with these 2 wide receivers, I think there's a lot of upside here. So let's just recap our roster real quick. We've got Zeke Elliott, Miles Sanders, and Leonard Fournette as our running backs, Terry McLaurin and DJ Chark as our wide receivers, and we are on the clock again. And where do we want to go? Do we want to dive into the running back pool? Do we want to stick with wide receiver? We've got, back-to-back picks coming up. Or do we want to look at a tight end? Players that came off the board, notable guys, Darius Geis, running back, Stephon Diggs, A.J. Green, T.Y. Hilton. DK came off in the 6th. Ronald Jones, guy that I'm kind of high on this season. Jordan Howard, Kareem Hunt, Swift. We saw 3 rookies come off of the board, and Taylor, Akers, DeAndre Swift. Marlon Mack right after we picked Chark. So here we are, best available wide receivers, Jarvis Landry, Tyler Boyd, Gallup, and Edelman. Tight ends, we got Darren Waller, Higbee, Evan Ingram, Hunter, Henry. And then running backs, what do we have? Running backs, Damian Williams, James White, Sony, J.K. Dobbins. Right now I'm not thinking about running back. What would you do? Just not as Brad and as Jeff, but right here, would you be back in the wide receiver pool?
I think I would, yeah. I think I'd be leaning Jarvis, maybe Gallup, but I also really like Marvin Jones. For those of you who kind of haven't been paying attention to Marvin Jones, he's been slept on in Dynasty, he gets slept on in redraft every year. It's probably a little bit higher to take him than people will find him, especially in your conventional redraft leagues. He can slip to the 8th, 9th round. But he's a guy who was on pace for, I believe, double-digit touchdowns last year and over 100 targets, playing next to Kenny Golladay on an offense that's going to be pretty bad. Defense isn't great either. They're going to be in a lot of passing situations. And obviously with the return of Matthew Stafford, I love Marvin Jones on his last year more than likely with the Detroit Lions to be another very high producer for fantasy and obviously has a high touchdown ceiling.
Let me tell you where I would go, and this is where I'm leaning. I know Jarvis Landry had like some hip thing. I don't know how he's progressing, how he feels, any of that. Haven't heard any reports. Tyler Boyd should be a target magnet, but somebody was tweeting about how like unvaluable his targets are because they're not like the deep targets, the end zone shots, and it's half point PPR. I'm kind of looking at Hollywood Brown right here, man. Like it might be a little bit of a reach, but I think Hollywood, there's something that came out today that he's up. He played under 165 pounds last year, and now he's up to about 180. I think he's poised for a massive season. The problem is he's probably not going to be a high-volume pass catcher, right? So I'm just shooting for kind of upside with a Hollywood Brown. Oh, man, this is a tough one for me.
So do you want to phone one into the experts? Because I was digging through a little bit. And so you have Marvin Jones from Jeff at 61. But the big outlier, at least from this board that I'm noticing, is both of them have Waller pretty high. Okay. So you have Brad, who has Waller at 50 overall, just behind Zach Ertz, at 63 overall. Okay. So you think about you're getting value on both. The biggest problem with tight ends is that there's always these middle round tight ends. And it's which one is going to be valuable, which one's going to bust, and are we reaching to take one in the 5th, 6th round? Both of our experts like Waller there. There's a lot of guys who are available, like Evan Ingram, a few spots below for both of them, and it kind of just flows down from there and depends on your risk tolerance. I'd be interested to see if you'd want to take a wide receiver here and then see what comes back to us in the next round.
Well, the wide receiver that I want to take is Hollywood Brown, and I think he'll 100% be there in the next round. So, and I said, no, I want to focus on wide receiver, but honestly, pass catcher. And as long as Derek Carr's at quarterback, we know that they got Henry Ruggs, but he's still a rookie. They got Bryan Edwards. He was a 3rd-round pick. I still think there's going to be tons of checkdowns to Darren Waller, and he's going to be a massive part of that offense. John Gruden said it last year, and it came to fruition. It's going to happen again. I still think he's a lock for, at minimum, 70 receptions at the tight end position, and to just go ahead and lock that in as my tight end 1 in this format, I think it just gives me a peace of mind. And both of the receivers I would take here, either Tyler Boyd or Hollywood Brown, I am confident they're going to come back to me. So I'm going to take Darren Waller right here, man. I'm going to draft Waller. And the experts kind of helped with that one as well. So let's take Waller. Oh, my gosh. Are you fucking kidding me? Hollywood Brown and Tyler Boyd went off of the board back-to-back right before I picked.
Oh, Jesus.
This
is a game you play, though, right?
both of the wide receivers that I wanted, that I said one of them would come back, they went 701, 702, Hollywood Brown, Tyler Boyd. And none of the tight ends came off of the board. Evan Ingram still there, Higbee there, Hunter Henry there. That hurt, man. That hurt.
Well, look who's there waiting for you. My boy Marvin Jones. I'm telling you, man, he could outperform all those guys easily.
Man.
And you think about half PPR, he's a double-digit touchdown threat. And maybe Hollywood is because of his speed. Boyd's not that. And to me, it's an easy pick. You know, Marvin Jones he's a great player. Unless you want to maybe go running back. But from what I'm seeing on the left there on the board, if you want to gamble with JK.
I kind of want JK because here's my thing with JK Dobbins. How many flex spots do we have here? We got a shit ton of flex spots. Here's my thing with JK Dobbins. I've said it once and I'll say it again. He is the type of running back. In redraft, you've got to win your first 3 or 4 weeks. If you start off 1-4, 0-3, 0-4, your chances of making the playoffs and winning it in redraft are slim to none. Some of these rookie running backs, I truly believe, have league-winning upside, and J.K. Dobbins is one of those running backs. Towards the end of the season, as he gets acclimated, as Baltimore starts to hit on all cylinders, and if something happens to Mark Ingram, I believe J.K. Dobbins is a plug-and-play, high-end RB1, from the time he gets the opportunity. But you have to be able to withstand his growing pains as a rookie the first 6 weeks of the season, the first 8 weeks of the season. With the team that we have, with Zeke, Miles Sanders, and Leonard Fournette, we can 100% wait on Dobbins, right? We don't need him to produce for us week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5. We don't need him to produce for us at all because we've got 3 stud running backs. But taking the gamble on Dobbins, who will not fall back to us, all the other rookie running backs are off of the board, I think he's worth it, man. I think he's worth it in this situation. Where do the experts have J.K. Dobbins ranked?
Okay, let me see. Because the problem is,
you should have getting this shit up as I was discussing them. I do this for you, this filibuster J.K. Dobbins thing. I did this with the anticipation that you'd have all this shit up ready to roll.
Okay, so I found Brad's. He has him at 98 overall.
Oh, gosh.
And Jeff doesn't have him in the top 100.
Oh, my gosh.
So if I got to go to the next page, I don't know if that's going to work. Like, if I'm going to have to start reloading pages just to find J.K. Dobbins, he's probably not the pick.
And you said they had Marvin Jones in, like, the 70s, 80s?
J.K. Dobbins is behind Tony Pollard at 141 for Jeff Ratcliffe. Which to me is about right, You think about Tony Pollard's value, but you think about Tony Pollard's value to his offense, and especially for us as our handcuff, he has just as much value to us as J.K. Dobbins does. Just obviously in the maximum upside scenario where Zeke doesn't get hurt and J.K. becomes the starter, that would be our optimal scenario.
All
but
right, man.
they both have them very.
Okay. All right. Fine.
They're saying don't draft J.K. Dobbins.
All right, fine. We'll go. What? Marvin Jones?
Marvin Jones would be my pick. You could go Jules if you want to, but he's PPR. Like, you're not getting the same upside. I know you don't like Marvin Jones, but Marvin Jones is good.
This is
it's
disgusting.
A good
All right. Here we go. Marvin Jones, tee it up.
Boom.
If I get an F draft grade, it's guaranteed because of that pick. Hell, I would have preferred Golden Tate in that situation.
Nah, he's late round value. Don't worry about Golden Tate. He'll come back.
All right. So here we go. All the quarterbacks still there. I'm still not even thinking about a quarterback. Round 8, not even thinking about it. Running backs, my boy's still there, so he came back. So you guys were right. That was a good. I would have been reaching a little bit. Wide receivers.
A little bit.
Wide receivers. Looking gross, not looking too gross. It's redraft, and I've got my eye on a certain rookie that plays with a quarterback with a top 10 pass volume offense in the NFL, one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the NFL, Carson Wentz. I see Jalen Reagor sitting there. I've already got one tight end. I'm not even worried about another one right now. So right now, for me, it's between Jalen Reagor and Dobbins, Jalen, Reagor, Pollard. Where do the experts have Reagor at in half point?
So I'm still looking for Reagor. I might have to do a Command F on that one to see if I actually find him. Unless he's a lot higher than I predicted, but I don't even see him here.
This is one I'm
going to... They have Deontay Johnson at 78, though. Is he still available or he got drafted?
I think Johnson went.
Preston was at 108.
Yeah, there's Preston there.
He was at 108 on Jeff's, and I believe he's still on second page for Brad as well. Right? They do have Justin Jefferson at 99 overall, though. Brad does.
Yeah.
And Pittman at... Whoa. Pittman at 94. Brad has some confidence in Michael Pittman.
Half point. I'm going with Reagor. Not only do I think he is going to be the team's number one wide receiver, the number one wide receiver is going to be Zach Ertz. But when we're talking about the wide receiver position, Alshon Jeffrey, it already came out today. He's going on the PUP list. Deshaun Jackson is 34 years old, 32 years old, something like that. One-trick pony deep threat. J.J. Arthur-Whiteside, not concerned. Greg Ward, not concerned. Jalen Reagor is going to finish the season with 20 carries and, I think 80 target minimum. I definitely think that's within his range of outcomes. Philadelphia is going to throw the ball, and they are devoid talent at the wide receiver. And Alshon Jeffrey, again, starting the season off on a PUP. On the PUP, he's probably 250 pounds. Executive decision right here. We're going Jalen Reagor. We need another wide receiver. I feel good about this pick. And then we pick here in a couple anyway. So, the same players who were there. Jefferson is still there. J.K. Dobbins is still there. This is probably my final shot to get Dobbins if I want him. Tyler Higbee, Jared Cook, Rob Gronkowski. Would we consider Gronk here? What do you think we should do here? Where is the highest ranking player that the experts have? And while you look that up, let me just go through my roster again. Zeke, Miles Sanders, Terry McLaurin, DJ Chark, Marvin Jones, Darren Waller, Leonard Fournette, Jalen Reagor. We have yet to address the quarterback position, and we've got 4 more picks left to fill out our starting. Who do the experts have highest that's left right now?
The highest would probably be where it depends on who you want to look at, because they're trying to split, right? I'm assuming Jordan Howard's gone.
Yeah, Howard was gone in the 5th, I believe.
Howard's been gone, right?
Yep.
Because they actually have Tom Brady pretty high. Like, according to them, you'd be going close to, because you think about what is the 9th round, so you're over pick 100. Within their top 100, you got Drew Brees, who's probably gone already. Matthew Stafford, Matt Ryan.
Dude, all the quarterbacks are the only quarterbacks that have been drafted are Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, and Deshaun Watson's there. Who's the third quarterback that came off the board?
So if you want to just talk about like quarterbacks right now, Russell Wilson is 58 by Brad and 70 by Jeff. So to them, he's a big value there. I know we're both late round QB guys.
Yeah.
But when you think about getting Russell Wilson in the 9th round, if they both think he's a value, I think that's a pretty good value for a guy who could be a top 5 quarterback. The only way I might go in other directions if you want to just go pure volume and try and wait on Matt Ryan.
See, but my thing is, like, I feel like I'd be doing the people a disservice because in the 9th round, okay, I can take Russell Wilson, which if you're going to take a quarterback this high, in my opinion, you better take one that has rushing upside. So Wilson, Watson, Josh Allen, Carson Wentz would be targets of mine, Daniel Jones. But, dude, like, realistically, all these quarterbacks, like, there's only been 4 quarterbacks taken. Like, I'd be just fine in redraft with Teddy Bridgewater down here at QB 26. Like, you know what I mean? Do I take Russell Wilson because he's the best player? Or
I'm with you though. Like I think we should wait. I just be curious that when do we I think what we need to tell the people is when is that run going to come, right? Because we know there's going to be a run where all these kind of middling quarterbacks go. That's what the tiers tell you here on Fantasy Pros, and that's what the ADP is kind of telling us is taking us that direction for quarterbacks. But if we're going to shoot value, I think we're probably looking at a high upside receiver like Brashad Perriman could be one if you want to shoot that direction.
I think the quarterback run is coming. I think
it's got to be coming soon.
It's coming
right
now. So I'm going to pass because Here's the question that we have to ask ourselves in this situation. Would we prefer Russell Wilson that much more over a Baker Mayfield that's going 13 picks later, 12 picks later, over a upside of a James White, J.K. Dobbins, opposed to a Naheem Hines, Chase Edmonds?
I'm definitely feeling J.K. here when you think about upside, right?
I'd rather have J.K. here and then get Baker Mayfield, Kirk Cousins later, opposed to getting Russell Wilson now and being stuck with Duke Johnson or Darrell Henderson. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely, man.
I think Dobbins is the pick. I think Dobbins is the pick.
And you just think about, like, we can't trade out, right? Or else we would be, because we're not going quarterback here.
And I see a bunch of wide receivers. I see some quarterbacks off of the board. But here's why I'm a proponent, especially in redraft, of waiting for quarterback. We still have Josh Allen, Matt Ryan, Carson Wentz, Drew Brees, Matthew Stafford, Aaron Rodgers, Daniel Jones. They're still on the board. You know what I mean? Like, I'm punting again. I told you, like, double-digit rounds. I would punt again.
And we got a short wait, right?
Yeah, Tevin Coleman's interesting. Gronk is very interesting. What do the experts have Coleman at? Because it's going to be crazy. We're making all of this hoopla over Raheem Mostert. I think Tevin Coleman, he looked good last year. I mean, he's still going to be involved in that offense, and Kyle Shanahan rides the hot hand at quarterback. I almost want to go another wide running back with Tevin Coleman, or I'm thinking Gronk with Tom Brady. Gronk is if he plays this full season, he's a lock for 10 touchdowns. I'm thinking Gronk or Tevin Coleman. Where are the experts at with these guys?
So both have Gronk in their top 100. I'm still trying to find Tevin Coleman in Brad's rankings, but Jeff has Tevin Coleman at 133. So that's not bad, you know. And he's actually really close to where Jalen Reagor is. Rashad Perriman's kind of in the same area. He actually has N'Keal Harry, who's still on the board, at 123. Ahead of those guys.
Okay.
So it's definitely interesting, and I think to your point about Gronk is, like, you look at where we took Waller, we didn't love the spot, but if we really wanted to punt tight end, Gronk here around back of round 10 is definitely a value compared to what we expected to see him go. Like, he's definitely someone that if you can maybe not handle that volume, he'll be a little touchdown dependent, but in a half PPR, he'll probably be a better value than some of the other guys coming behind him.
Yeah, and Michael Pittman, I know you said Brad, that was one of his guys. He's still on the board. Tight ends, Gronk, running backs.
He has Jared Cook, too. Brad has Jared Cook at 95 overall.
I think I'm gonna go Gronk. I've got a good feeling that Coleman might fall back to us, but I don't think Gronk would come back to us. So, for what it's worth, the experts here say 46% like Gronk here in this situation. Overall, they got Josh Allen. Cook, it's weird. They've got Cook over Gronk on this page, but then Gronk over Cook here. We're going Gronk here. I like it. Tom Brady at 10-9 and Gronk at 10-10. Cook went. Tevin Coleman gets picked right before our pick. Tevin Coleman gets picked right before. Yeah, sniper, man.
Season.
So N'Keal Harry, Tony Pollard, Rashad Perriman, all the quarterbacks. Still haven't had that quarterback run. Michael Pittman, Allen Lazard. I think we need a running back. Let's look at our roster.
So what's your philosophy on handcuffing with Pollard? Do you handcuff in redraft?
I think the difference is I think Tony Pollard's got standalone flex appeal. So if you're going to handcuff Madison, Tony Pollard, those are players that have standalone flex appeal. So I do think that wouldn't be a bad pick right here. Honestly, I actually kind of like that, and it's not. I really don't want to handcuff, and if I do, I'm not going to force it in redraft. Like, I know some people who do it early out of fear. Even if Zeke goes down, Tony Pollard definitely his value goes up, but he's not going to have as high a ceiling as Zeke Elliott. So I wouldn't spend significant draft capital on a running back just to handcuff. But in this situation, I think Tony Pollard is just good. And I think it may be reaching a little bit, but I don't hate that pick right here. And I doubt he falls back to us at the 12-10. So, and I know you said the experts like Tony Pollard had him ranked ahead of somebody that I took. So I think that's a solid pick right here, man.
Yeah, no, I like it a lot. It's because, yeah, it was like N'Keal Harry, Reagor, Pollard were kind of all Pollard's a little bit lower. Tevin Coleman, 133, Naeem Hines, J.K. Dobbins on. This is all on Jeff's. And then I forget where Pollard was on Brad's, but I think he was actually even higher because, again, it's that flex appeal that you talked about. People need to remember that Tony Pollard should be used quite a bit. It'll be a very high volume offense, and it's a top-heavy offense out there in Dallas. So you want to get a piece of the guys that are there.
Well, we smashed it. He doesn't even have a damn picture on here, man. They gotta do my guy Tony Pollard a little bit better. Doesn't even have a pick.
I mean, they're doing him dirty.
All right. So for the sake of this, all we're missing is the quarterback position. There's 5 bench spots. Honestly, Jay, if this was for real, like, I'm not touching one. And this is a single quarterback draft too. Like, I'd be fine with taking Gardner Minshew with my last pick, to be honest. Like, if that's where the value presented itself. Maybe not Minshew. Maybe I'd like stop
But
it.
you don't even like taking Matt or Drew as, like, they're both probably going to be top 6 quarterbacks. And while we both know the fantasy point difference isn't crazy, getting one of those guys in round back of the 12th round, maybe we wait till our next pick.
Well,
but I think, we should be looking at one of those 2 guys because they're probably going to be top 6. Drew's trying to win the Super Bowl. It's his last season. It's his last chance to pad those records. And that's why a lot of people like him, right? It's his last season to pad those records before he heads off into the sunset. Matty Ice is going to probably throw 650 passes this year. That's why people like Julio. That's why they like Ridley. So I get wanting to pass, but I think the value, like, we have found the value. This is it. We waited on quarterback like we were supposed to. We can keep waiting. I still like Daniel Jones. If you really got to go with Ryan Tannehill, Big Ben, if you want to kind of gamble on his road splits.
Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, they're all options. But definitely, if you're here in a draft, you need to consider taking Matt Ryan and Drew Brees if they're available. Whether we choose to take them or not, the people need to know that.
I think that's a good point. And if I'm going to take one of the quarterbacks, it would be Matt Ryan. I like those offensive weapons. Just a little. I just like that pass volume. I like that pass offense better. I like Julio and Ridley and Hayden Hurst. I just like that offense. I like what they do in that dome. And the reality is they play against each other in the same division, so they're going to be lighting it up one way or the other. And Atlanta's defense is not very good. So I think you make a great point. Even though I can wait for Teddy Bridgewater, I can wait for one of these other quarterbacks, the value has already presented itself, and we'll take Matty Ice right here, man. We won't even play around. And look at that. Look at that. Drew Brees went off of the board. He went off of the board right before we picked here. So we have now just completed our starting roster of Matt Ryan, Ezekiel Elliott, Miles Sanders, Terry McLaurin, DJ Chark, Marvin Jones, Darren Waller, Leonard Fournette, Jalen Reagor, J.K. Dobbins, Rob Gronkowski, and Tony Pollard. That is our lineup, and that is sort of my draft versus the rankings of Brad Evans and Jeff Ratcliffe. Definitely some differing opinions in there, but there was also some agreement. And they actually convinced me in a couple of spots to take a player that I probably wouldn't have. And then Jordan, along with your input and commentary, definitely helped formulate my plan and some of these selections here for this redraft league. Any thoughts on this starting lineup that we've compiled right here? Where do you think we really nailed it? And just based off of what we did, where do you think we kind of went, maybe not wrong, but what we could have done different? Here's the draft board right here. With those picks.
So I'm a big fan of what we did, to be honest. The 2 picks, I think that we could have maybe made better selections, even though I like them. Like, I think the Waller, Jones, Reagor predicament is a spot where everyone's going to have trouble this year. It's a spot where if you maybe can trade out or move picks around, you're probably going to feel good about moving those picks. But I still think I liked the value of Waller, although getting that kind of 4th and beyond tight end until you get to the late round guys, showing obviously when we got Gronk later, is kind of where I don't know how to play out, but I love having those 2 as options. In a good matchup, you're going to want Gronk because the team is bad against the tight end, and maybe Waller has a bad matchup. Those 2 go together very well. Waller has more of a safe floor playing week to week. In great matchups, you play Gronk, and you're probably going to be rewarded with a top, 5 or 6 tight end overall pretty easily. The rest, though, I'm very, very happy, obviously, with the running back stack right at the top. We funneled a few at the end, and maybe, as we fill out that bench, we would start to then add some more lower level running backs. Because like we've talked about with some of our colleagues, like Derek Brown mentioned it a lot, that those RB3s, those RB4s are going to have value this year. You're going to need to really study the depth charts because you don't know when a running back room may get COVID or one guy might get COVID, and all of a sudden the team's still planning on playing on because it's just an isolated incident, and you see these RB3s, these practice squad RBs, potentially even these free agent running backs start to have value because we all know that running back is the most replaceable position in football. It's the most plug and play. And so you're definitely going to want to have that in your lineups or at least on your radar and know those guys once the waiver wire opens up and start making those claims as soon as they become available.
Yeah, man, great points. And I really like this. The only pick that I kind of was iffy on, which if you look at where we took Darren Waller, we didn't see another tight end come off of the board until it was a little over 2 rounds from that exact spot, right? We could have grabbed a Higbee or a Hunter Henry or a Gronk and had either Jarvis Landry or Marquise Brown to add with a Marvin Jones and Jalen Reagor. I think I would have liked that a little bit more, but I love starting robust RB, and to get 3 running backs that should be a lock for 250 carries at minimum and at least 30 receptions for each of these guys. I love that start in half-point PPR and the very opposite style. So here's something that you're probably going to be faced with. Do you start out with 3 running backs and then you end up with wide receivers like Terry McLaurin, DJ Chark, Marvin Jones, Jalen Reagor, or would you have preferred to start out Michael Thomas, Mike Evans, DJ Moore, and Keenan Allen, but your starting running backs that you're relying on are Marlon Mack, Kerryon Johnson, and Phillip Lindsay? For me, the depth of the wide receiver position, especially in redraft, is so much greater than what the depth of the running back position is. So my philosophy would be to go robust RB and then have a McLaurin, Chark, Jones, Reagor, Boyd, Gallup, one of these type wide receivers, opposed to getting these stud wide receivers, remember, in half-point PPR, and having to rely on Marlon Mack, Kerryon Johnson, Phillip Lindsay, James White. I mean, is that how you kind of see it as well?
Oh, 100%, man. I think we really targeted the right kind of wide receiver ones. We're talking about wide receiver ones who basically fit the perfect categories. They play on bad teams. They're going to be in negative game scripts, and they're already the alphas on their rosters. Maybe their quarterbacks are a little bit questionable, but I think we targeted the perfect wide receivers to complement that robust RB strategy. And then obviously in half-point PPR, RBs are 100% king. It's not even close. We play in a lot of PPR leagues where that, balance is a little bit closer, but in a half-point PPR league, you need to hammer out those RBs early. And the fact that we got 3 basically unquestioned workhorses, that's going to be crazy. And you think about, man, all those guys could even see 50 receptions. You said 30. I was like, man, you might see them with 50 even. All of them top 50.
Yeah,
you could see Sanders even top. You could see Sanders topping, 80, 90 targets, maybe even catching 65, 60 passes on like a really, really good season. So to me, it's like a slam dunk. Those guys should be easy 20 touch a week guys, and probably upwards of 25 plus opportunities if maybe they drop some of those targets. So I love the way we hammered that strategy. And I think a lot of the viewers will see that those 2 wide receivers that we got as our 1 and 2 are the perfect guys to go with this robust RB strategy.
Yeah, so for the sake of the exercise, we're going to finish this out and we'll kind of go rapid fire here. And my strategy at this point, once you've filled out your roster, I'm kind of just looking at best player available, trying to find some of those upside swing players who could step into significant opportunity. And right here, I love Brandon Aiyuk. With Deebo Samuel being hurt, playing in that San Francisco offense, he's going to have a chance to step into significant targets from day one. The wide receiver 1 is George Kittle, but after that, with Deebo being hurt, it's Kendrick Bourne, and they spent the first-round pick on Brandon Aiyuk. So in Kyle Shanahan, I trust we're going to take Brandon Aiyuk right here. I think that's a good bench value play, and we don't need him right away, right? He's going to have some rookie growing pains, so we can let him chill. Now I am going to hammer out some running backs most likely. Let's check out the tight ends. Irv Smith would be an option. We've only got one tight end. Well, we've got two tight ends on the roster. We're going running back, and I know this sounds nasty, but the best ability is availability, and James Conner can't stay healthy. Benny Snell is the number 2, folks. I've talked to quite a few people in the Pittsburgh area. I've got some good friends in the industry that are in tune with Pittsburgh football. Benny Snell is the number 2 running back, not Anthony McFarland, not Jalen Samuels. So I think I'll take the potential volume that he could step into, as gross as it is. He had over 100 carries last year. Let's go Benny Snell right here at that pick. And we've got 3 more picks to make. We will take a quarterback here because, like you talked about earlier, you might as well get one more of those guys. The value is there. Stafford, Aaron Rodgers, Roethlisberger, Cam Newton, Tannehill. Where would you go if you were going to take a quarterback right here?
Honestly, based on our roster, I think it's got to be Cam Newton if you're just shooting pure upside. A guy who is basically a walking top 5 quarterback when healthy. He's a surefire pick for me this late as a high upside guy.
Yeah, and then the fact that we have such a stable quarterback and Matt Ryan at the top, I think it's good to take the upside shot here. And this is when I just see these quarterbacks here, this is why I just wait, especially in single quarterback redraft leagues. You can get Ben Tannehill late. I would have been fine with Tannehill as my QB1 in this format. We've got 2 picks left. Let's take a quick look at the running back pool. And it's gross. You got players like Dario Gumbawale. Don't need to take him in redraft here, so we'll go look at the receivers. There are probably still a couple of decent upside plays at receiver. Miles Boykin, Steven Sims.
Do you like Randall Cobb there?
No, I don't. Well, he's in Houston, right?
Yeah, so the thing is, people bring this up a lot about Randall Cobb, is like, obviously he had 80 targets in Dallas. He got a pretty solid contract from Houston, and the guys in Houston cannot stay healthy. None of them can. The only one who maybe can is Randall Cobb, and he's available, which is kind of surprising. He goes pretty late. Like, I look at him, Steven Sims, or if you want to go Kenny Stills, another Houston receiver. But you think about safety net for Deshaun Watson, I think Randall Cobb should be the pick.
That's a good redraft tip, and they really don't have a tight end either. They really don't have a tight end, so I kind of like that pick quite a bit, man. That's a good one. And I forgot Will Fuller and Brandon Cooks. Goodness gracious, right? Even Kenny Stills, a little bit of injury history here and there. I think Irv Smith's not a bad pick at this point. Irv Smith, Jay Sternberger. We just heard the news that Devin Funchess, Stonehands himself, is not going to play this season, opting out. Tight end's supposed to take a step forward. We're not going to touch quarterback. Running back is gross. Yeah. Don't even want to look at running back right now. So I think we're going to finish this out with 2 wide receivers. I'm going to take Steven Sims here. I know this is I've already got what's his name? No. I'm going to shoot upside. I'm going to take Miles Boykin. I didn't get Hollywood Brown, but I'm going to take Miles Boykin. Oh, that finished us out. Okay. We got an 88 out of 100 in our draft. I thought it was a good draft. I thought it was a good exercise to sort of play out a redraft league. So let's look at our team one more time, right? Let's check out our team one more time. What am I doing? Oh, Matt Ryan, Ezekiel Elliott, Miles Sanders, Terry McLaurin, DJ Chark, Marvin Jones, Darren Waller, Fournette, Reagor, Dobbins, Rob Gronkowski, and Tony Pollard. Those are our starters. Big flex league. In the bench, we got Brandon Aiyuk, Benny Snell, Cam Newton, Randall Cobb, and Miles Boykin. Yeah, maybe that last pick probably booted us down from the 90 slot. If we took another quarterback or something like that, the algorithm would have gotten us up a little bit higher. But I actually kind of like the team that we built, to be honest with you, man. Robust RB.
I'm a big fan of it. Big fan of it. If we got that team in a redraft league, we'd be ready for the ship. I'd be trading away all those guys, just getting ready to go.
Yeah, that was a good show, man. That was a good exercise, and redraft season is here. Hopefully that provided some, and I did not see any of their rankings before doing this. So, when you're looking at rankings, whether it's my rankings, if you do want my rankings, they're just Devi and Cornerstone, patreon.com/allgas. But on FTN Fantasy or wherever the hell you look at rankings at, use them as a tool and a guideline to maybe check yourself, like, am I valuing this player too high? Am I, a little too low on said player? But ultimately, you got to make your own decision and feel comfortable with the picks that you make. And, some of the rankings by Brad and Jeff, it convinced me to pick one way. And then other times, I was like, hell no, I'm taking my guy. I want Jalen Reagor here. I believe he's going to be the wide receiver 1 in Philadelphia this year. Either way, I hope this was some strategy and some good insight into how we use those rankings and our thought process in redraft leagues. Any final closing remarks, Jay?
No, man, I would just say, obviously we did this as an exercise. We hope you guys picked something up from it, went through our thought process, how we would draft the team together, and then obviously how I use these rankings to kind of like guide Ray through what they thought, right? And then obviously, like Ray said, build off of that. Build your own rankings based off of the opinions that you trust, maybe hopefully us and FTN and the things that we provide for you guys. But obviously then you still need to be comfortable, like Ray said, with taking your own picks. And, we're always here to help, so feel free to reach out to us or anybody at FTN, and we can definitely help you get your redraft game right.
Yeah, man, let's get it. If you like the show, thumbs up, comment, engage with us. If you can, smash that subscribe button. One more time, exclusive access to myself, Jay, the best damn Devi Dynasty community on the planet, patreon.com/allgas. Hey, man, like I tell you guys every week, man, stay locked into your goals. Hustle, motivate, inspire, be great. Until next time, we'll catch you later. Peace. Now that we got the mock draft out of the way, let's get to the newest segment that will be coming to you every single episode of the All Gas Show. New thing that Jordan and I, it's called Off Topic. We are just going to talk about something completely unrelated to fantasy football, shit that's going on in the world, on Twitter, something that we saw. And what I want to bring up right now for a few minutes is I've got a bone to pick with you, bro. I've got a bone to pick with you because there was this, like, I tweeted something out last week and I did not expect it to blow the way it did on fantasy Twitter. But I said it's not even a debate. The 90s era of hip-hop is far and away better than the noise that has been produced in the 2000s. And I do not think there's really a debate. And you, my friend, of all people, took it, I wake up, got all additional ats, and I see you talking about you completely disagree with me, and that you're saying that the 2000s era of hip-hop is better than the 90s? Dude, are you kidding me?
All right, so as most people know, Ray, you're my boy, man. You're one of my best friends. We get along so well. So I had no problem disagreeing with you because I have no problem telling you that you're wrong. And the reason why you're wrong is simply because, and we talked about this, yes, back in the day, rappers may have been better rappers. But my whole point is that rappers are no longer rappers. They are artists. Rap is mainstream, and now everyone wants to be a rapper. Now, that being said, if you want to talk about quality of hip-hop, that's one thing. But I think there is so much more to the culture of hip-hop and rap than just bars. That's where it originated.
You just
that's
said
where
that
it originated.
Okay, I'm responding to what you just said. You said rappers today are artists. This is my show. Rappers today are artists.
Yes, sir.
So
if you don't think a rapper's an artist, then okay, you're still behind the movement.
Was Tupac not an artist? Was Biggie not an artist? Are you seriously saying that right now?
Okay, but hold on a second. But do you think that back then, and obviously you have more experience due to your age and attrition in this world than I do, do you think that rappers were treated like pop stars, like rock stars? They weren't treated the same way in the music industry,
right?
That they are now.
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying.
Neither were athletes.
I'm not saying
neither were athletes.
I'm not saying they weren't artists, but now they are treated on the same level as these other artists.
Right, but that has nothing to do with their talent and skill level. The reason why they weren't viewed as globally as revered as they are today is because the advances in technology. I mean, it's simple. There was no social media. There was no Twitter. There was no Facebook in the 90s. We talk about football players and basketball players, and we've talked about this. Had social media existed during the Michael Jordan era when he was in his prime in the 80s, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, right now the only reason we fucking know about those guys is because we've got NBA history TV and we get to actually watch them play, or you've got YouTube. But had that existed during the time that they played, had that stuff existed the time that these hip-hop artists and these rappers of the 90s were in their prime, we'd be talking about them in the same light, if not more, than some of these guys now. And yes, I understand the 2000s were good. You had good hip-hop artists, good rappers in the 2000s, but now it's Big Baby, Little Baby, Dub Baby, Baby Doll. They all sound the same. All the music, it's trap drums and beats. All of it sounds the same. I was listening to something on the radio the other day. I'd turn off. It literally sounded like somebody just, I don't know if it was Young Thug, somebody. It was just, I don't even know what they're saying. I literally was driving saying, I've got to pull the lyrics up because I have no clue what they are even saying, if they're even speaking English at that point in time. I don't want to hear that noise. I want to hear a story, man. Tell me a story, something behind it, not flipping something like it's stir fry. Are you what? In the kitchen, wrist whipping like it's stir fry? Artistry, right? Stir fry. Yeah, I'm in the kitchen. I get it. Whipping like it's stir fry.
Hold on. We live in a hype culture, so I'm sorry, if the hype songs aren't really your flavor, you don't really like them, that's cool. I'm cool with that.
It's cool for the gym.
As we've talked about, right, the biggest problem with hip-hop now is that all these guys that aren't good, and I would completely agree with you to say that they're not talented artists in the way that you view talented rappers. Those talented rappers are now falling way behind the wayside in popularity and exposure because of all of these, like your point, trap artists and these things. So to my counterpoint to all of you guys who think the 90s are better, and I totally agree with you. If you think that they're better, I'm cool with that. But what I would say is that a lot of people haven't explored the talented artists of the 2000s who are lyrical, who are the things that they want. They're not looking at the Stormzys, the Daves, the Dave East. People know who Kendrick Lamar is. People know who J. Cole is. They don't necessarily know who Joyner Lucas is, if that's more your more kind of guy that you like, who tells stories.
But I get your point. Big Crit. So, I get you. Yes.
Yeah, Big Crit we talked about a lot. As far as talent, one of my personal favorite talented artists of the generation. And honestly, I'm not a big, a lot of people would talk about Drake. Not a big Drake guy. I don't think he's overly talented. He's a pop star. People need to realize that Drake is not a rapper. He is a pop star. Okay, that's how he views himself. He is a pop icon. Now, if we're talking about pure rap, I think it's more about they are just no longer in the mainstream. Like you talk about Nipsey, he's massive. The late Nipsey Hussle, rest in peace to him. Great rapper for a long time in the
great
2000s.
Motivator. That's why that he's inspired me, man. His personal grind and philosophy definitely touched me. So.
Yeah, and for those who don't know Nipsey, I've been listening to Nipsey since the Marathon, long before he ever put out his most recent album, which was, people don't know, that was his first album ever, but he had put out countless mixtapes where he talks about the same things, the struggle, and trying to make ends meet in his community. And he's a great philanthropist, like you said, motivator for a lot of people. Again, 2000s artist. So there's still a lot of people out there. They're just hard to find. And I totally understand people's perspective about them just getting lost in the shuffle of all the mumble rappers, the trap artists, all of these guys who don't really offer much as far as bigger picture, creating change. And notice how I said bigger picture relating to my man, Lil Baby. But there is a lot that I think the 2000s do have to offer that people just don't see, where as we talked about back in the 90s, you had to be elite to even make it, get recognized, and what those guys were talking about were important issues on top of getting that fame and for some of them fortune, right? So I definitely see it from both sides, and I'm super happy we got to have this debate and like hear both perspectives. Because obviously we created the whirlwind on Twitter a few days ago, so that was lots of fun. You know, this whole segment off topic is meant to just show the community that we are people behind, you know, the fantasy takes and this player, that player. We hope that you guys can see another side of us that maybe you didn't expect, or hopefully learn something about us or the world beyond the sport of football. And that's really what we're here to do.
Yeah, man, you're right. I think it's important for I want to make sure that people come here and get the actionable fantasy advice, but I also want them to interact with us and get to know us as people, man. Like we're in quarantine like everybody else. Right now I can literally almost touch both walls. I'm in a 2-bedroom apartment. I've got a 9-month-old and a 3-year-old in that room. My dog is down here. I got the deep freezer in the back because we're living in this little ass apartment until our house is ready. It was kind of a weird flex that I had on Twitter. Somebody like tried to clown one day and they're like, "Oh man, I'm just concerned that all you have is a futon and a deep freezer in your apartment and no furniture." And then I tweeted out a picture of the house that's being built, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to take my futon and my deep freezer to this fucking palace that we're building right now. You know what I mean? Like, you're trying to be a funny ass.
Hell yeah.
But nah, we're normal people. I'm doing this. This is us, man. So hopefully people will gain some insight from this little section, and we will be sure to hit on fantasy related stuff. Like, that's the utmost important thing, but this is a fun section, and it ain't always going to be hip-hop and R&B. It's just something random that's going on. So next week is your turn to bring something to the docket, but I do hope the people enjoyed this section.